Hi guys, welcome back to this tutorial. So this tutorial we're going to be doing revision. Most of these topics we've done them before. So for this one is going to be focusing on orthographic views and also sectional view. So what is a sectional view? A sectional view, this is a view that you get after you cut something at a certain point, right? So we have our diagram here. So I'm trying to put measurements here that we can use to draw this diagram. So you can just use your own measurements, your own discretion, and see what you want to do, right? So sectional view, as you can see, we have that line labeled YY. That's a sectional view, and that one labeled XX. That's also a sectional view. Okay. So the reason why I chose this diagram is because we have a rib on this diagram, right? What do we call a rib? That slanted item is a rib, right? So what's the law when you cut a rib? The law says if you cut a rib longitudinally, you don't section it, right? So you might not get it right now, but as we draw, you start appreciating it and you see why we don't section it if you cut a rib, right? So a rib is mostly something that's slanted, that's connected to a certain particular column or base or whatever. Usually ribs are found where you have a horizontal base and a vertical column going upwards. So usually ribs, they can use to connect two prisms or two objects, right, to make them one, or just to strengthen the item, right? So that's basically a rib. Okay, so now what we are doing is I'm just measuring so that we have that so that we can draw that diagram that we just saw, that shape that we just saw. So you can just use your certain particular measurements, right? So now I'm measuring my horizontal base, which was, I think I put 70 millimeters for that one. Okay, so I was just basically using 70 millimeters, 10 millimeters for those shorter distances and stuff. So you can just find what's the best for you. So for me that was 10 millimeters. Then I went on to measure another 10 millimeters. So that that's where my rib was starting. That's the point where the rib is starting, right? So now the rib was what did I put for the rib? I think I put 20 millimeters for the rib. Yes, so that's where the rib is ending and touching the vertical column that was going upwards, right? So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and have that some distance if you want to follow my measurements, but for this video we are not particularly going to be focusing on how you draw it. We just want to focus on how you section it, right? So yeah, you go ahead and put your height. For me that was 40. Yeah, that was 40. So I went ahead and put my center line right there. So my center line was at 20, right? So yeah, go ahead and put your 20. So which means you have 20 millimeters that other side. So for now, I want to have a 10 millimeter line. That's starting from the center line. So I measured my 5 millimeters on the other side and the other 5 millimeters on the other side, so that I have that particular point. That's also the same. That's the thickness of my rib that I'm going to be using for this tutorial, and I just put that 45 degrees so that I would use that to project lines going upwards, so that I will have my end elevation, right? So this is one simple method for you to obtain the third elevation. If you're given two elevations, you just you just draw a 45 degree line, so that you see where you're going to be projecting your lines, either downwards or vertically upwards. So that's basically it, so that you obtain 90 degrees. So now as you can see, I'm now drawing the plan of that particular diagram, right? So let's go ahead and put the measurements right there. Not the measurements, but let's just darken the base. So okay, that's the plan. That's roughly the plan of my base that I have, right? So now, as you can see, the column that was inside, it was a little bit offset. It wasn't touching the angle. Sorry, not the angles. It wasn't starting from where the base was starting. It was more like it was inside, right? So now that's what I'm doing. I used 5 millimeters offset, so that now we have the offset of that item. So as you can see, I had made a mistake here. I wanted to draw that inner item, but then I realized that I didn't draw the outer part of it. So now I went ahead and darkened there. Then that was where the mistake was. I was supposed to use that other line which was on the other side. So let's go ahead and erase those lines and do the correct thing. So now what you want to do is you want to have that vertical column with the hollow part that is going downwards. That's what we want to draw right now. So I went ahead and darkened my drawing so that you guys can follow with me and you guys can see how we are moving about it. Okay, so let's go ahead and darken those lines. Yeah, exactly. So now, as you can see, we now have our outer part of that hollow column that's going vertically upwards. So now I went ahead and put my 5 millimeters. I was using 5 millimeters offset so that I can draw. That's also 5 millimeters. Then you want 5 millimeters on that other side, and also 5 millimeters on that other side. My hand is blocking you guys, but yeah, that's 5 millimeters for you, and also that's also 5 millimeters. So now we want to draw that hollow item that's going downwards. So now we are projecting. I'm now taking those lines so that you guys can see where the hollow part is. So that's the hollow part that I have right there that I'm highlighting for you guys. So now, as you can see, we now have that hollow column that's going vertically upwards. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and draw our rib that we had said that we want it to be 10 millimeters. So I had drawn this and I had realized that I was darkening, but now I'm rubbing because it's a sectional view. We are cutting through the rib, and we are also cutting through the hollow part of it, right? So now, as you can see, we have drawn our rib. So that's the full length of our rib, right? For me, my rib was 20 millimeters, I guess. But as you can see, we are not. The rib is just cut to a particular distance, right? It's not cut the whole of it. So you measure that distance. For me, I just put 10 millimeters so that you guys can see. Then you also have to draw that part, right, to highlight where it has been cut. So now what you do is you can go ahead and darken that line because we are cutting through that line. So now you can now go ahead and shade that part. As you can see, we are shading this rib this way because it has not been cut longitudinally. It has been cut what do I say? It has been cut like there's a horizontal cutting line. That line YY. If a rib is cut that way, you can go ahead and edge it or section it, right? But if it's cut longitudinally, right, going up and down, like you're cutting it going up and down, not horizontally, but going up and down, that's when you don't hedge it. So now we are hedging it because it has not been cut longitudinally, right? But as you can see, there's that part that I didn't hedge. Why didn't I hedge it? Because it wasn't cut. If you can see our cutting line YY, our cutting line, it's not cutting the whole rib, right? It's just cutting a part of it. But this other part that's going, that's slant, you just see it as it is. If you look from the plan, so you don't hedge that part. You just leave it like it is, because it has not been cut, right? So you can use a 60 or 45 degree set way to draw your sectional view. So now I have my sectional view. Now what we want to do is we want to have our front elevation. So I decided that my front elevation is the one that I'm going to take from the right hand side, right? So let's go ahead and draw that. So my height for this one, I used 60 millimeters going upwards. Then for my base, I put 10 millimeters, right? So that's my base. So I'm trying to darken so that we can be faster when you do these things, so that we don't spend much time on it, right? So as you can see, so I've darkened that part where we have that area, because if we cut our shape, you will see that as a solid shape. So you have to darken that surface, because you see it, it's not in hidden form this time, because you actually see it. So you darken that part. So now I went ahead to draw the top part of our drawing, right? So that's the top part of our drawing. Then you have to go down with that line. So if this is the cross-sectional shape, this is the cross-sectional front view, it means that you see that hollow part, you see the whole of it, right? So now I made a mistake there. The 5 millimeters is supposed to be inside, so let's go ahead and draw the line inside. Okay, so now we have our shape. So as you can see, now we have our, that's our front elevation. That's how we visualize it. As you can see, I made a mistake there. I darkened that part. That part you won't see it as a darker line. The shape will just appear as one shape. So we have to remove that part of those lines, so that you know that when you are now sectioning your drawing, when you're now hatching it, you visualize it as one thing. So now let's go ahead and hatch our diagram. So guys, hatching is just to show that you have cut something so that you see the internal part of it, right? Last time I gave you an example of, let's say, if you cut a car, what do you see inside the car? You see seats and everything, the steering wheel, depending on which part you cut the car from, right? So for us to know that something has been cut in drawing, we draw those hatch lines. Mostly people prefer to put them at 45 degrees. Just depends on your preference. You can use 30 degrees or 60 degrees, just depends on what you want, right? So this is how you show it, guys, that you've cut through a certain shape, through a certain through a certain column, or whatever you are focusing on at that point, right? So now, as you can see, we are now hatching it. So if you cut through a wall, mostly you just see the surface. Let's say if it's a can, if it's a container, if you cut through it, you see the surfaces. You only cut the surfaces where the can or the bucket or whatever is ending. That's the only part you cut. You won't cut the wall, right? So you don't hatch the wall, right? So this is what we are just doing, guys. So you only hatch where our cutting plane or our cutting, let's use the word plane. Our cutting plane is passing through. So as you can see, this is our cutting plane, right? So this is the plan and the front elevation of our diagram that we had seen before, right? So basically this was the whole concept about sectioning. I will give you more examples as we go on, so that you guys will appreciate and know where we are coming from and know where we are going, right? So now we want to go ahead and make our end elevation. So as you can see from the given diagram that I showed you before, the end elevation, there was not any cutting plane. So for the end elevation, we are just going to draw it as it is. So as you can see, for this one I was visualizing from the left side, right? From the left side of our drawing. Then I went on to put my drawing from the right hand side, right? That's how you visualize it, because this is first angle, if you can see, because our plan is below the front elevation. So let's go ahead and complete our end elevation and see how this thing would look like. So for the end elevation, you are not drawing the sectional view, because we don't have any cutting plane from the sectional view. Usually most questions, if they want you to draw the sectional view, let's say if they want you to draw the sectional view that's coming from the, let's say, the front elevation, they will specify. But usually if the question didn't specify, it just wants the sectional view, maybe you might not even draw the end elevation. You just have to draw the plan and the front elevation, where you only see the cutting plane, right? But usually if it's orthographic, my advice is, if you have time in an exam, just draw the third elevation, because it would give you marks. But if you don't have time, most of the marks usually they are on the section part of the drawing of the elevations. If you just draw the section part, then that's where most of the marks are. So let's go ahead, guys, and finish this. So this is our end elevation. That hollow part, you see it as hidden detail, right? You see it as hidden detail. So now I'm sure if you're not familiar with orthographic, you can actually see where the rib is. You can actually see the base. You can actually see our vertical column, and you can actually see how many faces we are seeing from this part, right? So let's go ahead and label our drawings. It's also important to label your drawings and to put the angle of projection symbol, right? So thank you guys for watching this tutorial. If you reached to the end, thank you so much for supporting. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And I wish you well in your exams, guys. By the time you write exams, I'm sure you would have mastered this concept. So stay blessed, guys. Cheers.